Good morning and welcome to the Extension Connection. This is the Morton County Extension staff this morning with you. This is Vanessa Hoynes, Family Consumer Science Extension Agent. And with me I also have Marissa Lyer, our A&R agent. And then also we have Carla Mickle on the phone who we're going to be visiting with a little bit. She is, and she'll tell you a little bit about where she's been and where she is. But first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I'm going to cover today. With all the recent events that we've had in our country, from national disasters with hurricanes and now the recent shooting in Las Vegas, I'm going to share some tips and some things that we as adults and parents could think about and could how we can deal with that with our kids, because I'm sure they're probably having lots of questions about that, and so we'll talk about that a little bit. I also have a program coming up that helps folks over 60 prevent falls. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and if you're interested, how to register and sign up for that. And then I also have some information about potatoes and also the bountiful harvest of fall vegetables and some things we can do as we're harvesting and how to store those. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, Marissa.
And I'm going to talk about how to care for your lawn as we move into fall. We felt that chilly weather starting out this week, and so I'm going to talk about fertilizing your lawn and mowing for the last time and applying some weed control. And I'm also going to talk about some backgrounding and feeding seminars that are going to be coming up in the couple days here. And so we'll go to Carla.
Morning from outside of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We are returning today from the World Dairy Expo in Madison. I'm with the North Dakota 4-H dairy judging team that is represented by Morton County. So we have some information here about the results from World Dairy Expo, our 4-H judging team, and a little bit of what we've done. And I've got Coach Nathan Bain with me, Jamison Ellingson, Ivy Klusman, and Brooke Kuntz. All members of the dairy judging team. We're missing Sierra. She flew back yesterday so she can make it to State FFA Parley Pro contest here that's happening today back in Bismarck. So first, though, I just want to wish everyone a happy National 4-H Week, big week for 4-H. I've been reading on Facebook a lot of information about National Youth Science Day today and a lot of fun things that North Dakota is doing for National 4-H Week. So I hope everyone is celebrating in some way. We're celebrating here in, again, outside of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Our trip here down to National, as far as World Dairy Dairy Expo. As a team, I'll just run down here the results, and then I'll let the folks in our vehicle talk. In Brown Swiss, we did actually 5 classes of heifers and 5 classes of cows, and gave reasons on 5 classes of cows. And in Brown Swiss, we placed 6 as a team. In Ayrshire, we placed 13th as a team, and Jamison placed 23rd overall. In Brown Swiss, Sierra placed 23rd overall. In Guernseys, Sierra placed 9th, Ivy placed 14th, and the team placed 8th overall. And in Holsteins, Ivy placed 23rd, and the team placed 10th. And overall, the team placed 11th. So great showing by North Dakota. Super proud of everyone and all their efforts. And Coach Nathan, done a great job with the team. So with that, I'm going to let them talk a little bit about their experience here at World Dairy Expo. And if you've never been, and I had never been to World Dairy Expo, it is something to see. Absolutely fun. There's things to see all over the grounds. Buildings are full of not only vendors, but cows as well, and food, and more cheese curds than you can possibly imagine. So with that, I'll hand it over here to Nathan.
Good morning. Just one of the things that Carla didn't talk about a little bit is pre-contest workouts. We were out at 5 different farms in the 2 days prior to the contest. Cozy Nooks, Brown Swiss, Crescent Meat Holsteins, Ocean View Holsteins, and the Horde Dairy Farm, and also Meadowland with Ag News. That was milking shorthorns up there. So over a 2-day period, we saw about a dozen to 15 classes of cows. And then on Sunday, we were also able to tour NASCO and the National Dairy Shrine Museum. kids get to see a little bit there. Pretty much, Carla went over most everything. Some of the things at World Dairy Expo, there's 2,500 cows in a couple of different buildings, and you can pretty much see whatever kind of dairy cow you want to see out there, and any kind of display for show cattle. Guess anything else, we'll let the kids say a few words here each.
This is Jamison Aleckson here. Many of you who, I don't know if much of you have been out to the World Dairy Expo. Me personally, I have never been there, and it was just a fantastic opportunity to see many different people all over the United States. Me personally, I'm more of a livestock and beef guy, but the Dairy Expo was just a wonderful chance to see another part of the ag industry and different things people do across the entire U.S. I had the opportunity to see a great set of cattle over the week and talk to a lot of new people. It's a great opportunity, and if anyone is out in Madison ever at this time of the year, I'd highly recommend it.
This is Ivy. I've always wanted to go to the World Dairy Expo ever since I was a little kid, and I had a really great time, and I got to watch one of my best friends' show. She's from Gackel, North Dakota. Her name is Sydney Kleingartner, and I had a really good time.
This is Brooke here. I guess this was my first time going to the World Dairy Expo, and it was just a really great eye-opener for me, I guess, just to see all the breeds of cattle and learn what the good ones look like. It was a really great experience, and I highly recommend anyone who is thinking about going.
Okay, and that kind of wraps up here what the vehicle thought of the experience. I guess, it was new for me. I learned a lot about the dairy industry, not everything, but just a small piece of it, and very interesting. The people were great to visit with. A lot of different producers from all over the United States. There was cattle there from California and all the way up to Maryland. So from coast to coast, there was dairy cattle there. So very interesting. Anybody have any questions?
Well, Carla, I'm wondering, are you going to be ready to answer a quiz about dairy now?
Oh, yeah, sure. As long as I have Google with me, I think I might be okay. So, actually, Lisa Peterson yesterday had posted a picture. We were at the dairy show, and we were watching Brown Swiss and some Ayrshires, and she said, "So, can you place all those cattle?" And I laughed, and I said, "No." I said, "I might be able to get a couple of them right, but, man, there's like 42 in a class and 38 in a class to look at, and it keeps the ring busy, and you got to constantly be watching, and it's tough. It really is." So, no, I'm not an expert. I will not pass a dairy quiz. I would have to rely on the folks in this vehicle to help me out. It could be pretty interesting.
Well, here's a good one, Carla. Quick. What kind of cow is Salem Sioux?
A Holstein.
What kind of cow is Salem Sioux?
It's a Holstein cow.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Well, thanks, Carla, for giving us an update on your trip. And we hope you have a safe travel back. And congratulations to the 4-H team and Carla and Coach Nathan for your accomplishments there.
Yep. Thanks. It was fun to join you and share the accomplishments of the team. Again, they did a great job, did a lot of workouts and sets of reasons. Nathan had them working reasons in the evenings, and got to hear that too. So, a lot of work these kids put in, and I'm super proud of them. So.
Oh, break. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Right now, 41.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. supertalk1270.com.
And welcome back to the Extension Connection. Again, this is the Morton County Extension Office, and this is Vanessa Vanessa Hoynes. And before the break, we were visiting with Carla and her gang as they come back from the Dairy Expo, and they sound like they had a really good experience.
Yeah, I am super impressed with you guys. 11th place overall, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous because Carla got to go, because I've been to the World Dairy Expo before. I've actually been there 3 times, and I'm just itching to go back another year.
Well, so maybe you'll get a chance to help out coaching, and now you can go next year.
Yeah, hopefully.
There you go. Well, they'll continue on. So congratulations to that team and to Coach Nathan, and well-deserved and really good experience for them. Well, when we were opening the show, I talked a little bit about that I wanted to share some of the things that adults can do to support children dealing with the stress related to the different tragedies that we've had. In the last few weeks, it's been hurricane after hurricane, and then now the shooting in Las Vegas. And I think we're just kind of being inundated with images of victims, whether it's of flooding or violence, police, the social media and television screens are all, sending all those messages into our homes and onto our phones and all our technology, and kids are seeing this all over. And so I think there are some things that we can probably do as adults and as parents to really help kids really relate to what's going on and help them to kind of put this into perspective for their lives, because it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, it takes a big toll on your emotions.
It's a lot to deal with for adults, not to mention kids. And I think, kids ask questions and they respond emotionally to the reactions of adults in these events. And so they see adults absorb this news coverage, and then they listen to parents or teachers discussing persons that they know who reside in those areas. And we've had Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico and now Las Vegas all touched, and they see all these images on TV or in the newspapers, and the children want to know what's happening, and they express concern and anxiety, and they wonder why it's happening really at all. And so parents and other adults can play a critical role in helping children deal with this, the stress related with such events that we've had in the last few weeks. And so I have some examples of some things that we can do as adults. And the first one is to really be an example for your children. And it's important to understand how to handle the concern about these attacks or disasters, because children look to parents and other adults for insight in how to respond to the difficult circumstances. So it's important that we set a positive example for kids and really avoid responding to current news updates in ways that are highly emotional or overly dramatic. And so, in other words, kind of trying to keeping a balance, keeping kind of a level head, and being able to kind of take that information in and not be at one end of the spectrum or the other. Giving them something that they can an example that they can follow. It's important to be informed, but not to dwell on the latest events. And children will be more comfortable if you can listen to their concerns and see your more balanced emotional response to them. Secondly, another thing that we can do is to create a positive environment for children during these stressful times. And, as you maintain a sense of security in your own home and environment, this reassures children that they can continue to feel secure and they can continue a healthy routine at home. It's important to keep things moving as they have been, and to avoid letting the constant news coverage of current events be on your television or constantly in the background at your home. And I think sometimes television has become just a part of something that's always on, but being a little more mindful about what is on that television, and I think it's a good reminder that televisions have an off button.
Yeah.
That we can turn them off and not have them on, and not be that constant reminder about things that are happening in the world. It's important to let children know that despite these events, the patterns of their life will continue in ways that are familiar with them, and that then they can depend on that, so that it isn't undermining their sense of security. Thirdly, another thing we can do is to be a resource for helping your children cope as they need. Express your concern for people living in the region, but reassure children that they themselves are protected and safe. And it's important to answer your children's questions directly, but only give them the information that's appropriate for their age and maturity level. And, unfortunately, I think in a lot of the newsreels and things, they're probably getting a lot more information that may not be appropriate for their age level. And so being mindful of that as we're watching the news in the evening or in the morning as we're getting ready for a day. And then finally, help your children manage the emotions of fear or uncertainty that they might feel. Parents and other adults need to be attentive to children's needs and helping them to overcome fears or maintain a sense of trust and security. And the best protection for a child in times of emotional chaos is the loving arms of a mother, a father, or another loving adult. Just to know that there is somebody there that is supporting them and is willing to listen to them. Having a listening ear is so important during these times. I thinking about a story just before we left our office. Somebody in our office shared that something had happened to a mom in a family that she was aware of, and the response of her kids were that there was an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and all three of them, in their own way, reacted to what was going on. The older two were very angry about the incident, and the 2-year-old proceeded to have bad days at daycare. And I think that's a good example about how kids are, how they act out or how they deal with some of these emotions that they don't know how to deal with.
Yeah, and how they react to what the adult has reacted.
Mm-hmm. And so, trying to take whatever happens to your family, trying to take those things, keep the information that, factual and things that they need to know, kind of on that need to know basis, and giving them ways to deal with it. And that if, as an adult, if you have to, quote unquote, lose it, don't do that in front of the kids. Be able to keep more of a balanced emotion when you are in their presence and be that example.
I guess this reminds me of when I was younger. I think I was in 2nd grade when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And I had so many questions, and the teachers were there for us, and the parents were there, and, they did answer those questions on the need-to-know basis, Mm-hmm. And as you grow older, then you start to understand more why things happen. So I think that, yes, it's so important to be honest with your kids and not try and hide the things that are going around, because they're bound to see them, especially mm-hmm. with today's social media and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't really hide it, but it's important to be the filter, that you can help them see the pieces that they're able to comprehend and able to deal with. And help them through looking at those pieces. So some strategies you can use as parents would be some really simple things would be to provide physical comfort. And in other words, giving kids those extra hugs, extra smiles, sitting close to them, reading a book. And if you have bigger kids, sitting with them and having a discussion about what they're thinking about because of the things that are going on. Give your child verbal reassurance also, reminding them that you love them and that you support them and that you will be there to take care of them. Being honest about your feelings with your child, telling them that you are saddened by what's going on, and how you deal with that sadness and what you as a family can do. This is an opportunity to decide whether if it's a donation your family wants to do or if you want to do some kind of a fundraiser, but it's a way to kind of put that emotion into an action instead of it becoming something that we're stuck in anger we're stuck in trying to understand it, but put it into action in a positive way.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to deal with all of the disasters that are going around in this country.
Mm-hmm. And there's many places and many ways that we can help. And it can be small or big, and every little bit counts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's also important to ask your child to share their own thoughts and feelings, be a good listener in this. Another activity you could do is have your child write or tell a story or draw a picture about their concerns, because sometimes, depending on their age or their ability to express their feelings, that can be an easier way for them to be able to talk about that and to be able to tell you a little bit more about what's going on inside. And it's really important to maintain those consistent routines and things that are familiar for your kids. And then above all, make sure that they know that they are protected and that you are always there to help them through whatever comes their way. And so with that, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back in a few minutes with the Extension Connection.
Right now, 41.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back to the Extension Connection. This is the Morton County Extension Office, and I'm going to tip it over to Marissa Lyer, who is our new agricultural agent. If you weren't listening 2 weeks ago, we introduced her, and so yes, she's going to help us out with fall lawn prep and all those good things that we're all getting ready for with those fall days out there.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit chilly, and Montana even got some snow yesterday.
That is a 4-letter word, you know.
Yes, it is one of those bad ones. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can prepare our lawns for winter and the upcoming spring. So fall is the best time for your herbicide application, because right now the plants are getting ready to store nutrients, so they're taking everything and putting it into their roots so that they can make it through the long winter. So as they're taking down nutrients, if we spray those herbicides on the lawn, they'll also take that herbicide with them into their roots, and they'll kill the whole plant. So that's why the fall is the best time for that herbicide application.
And it seems like the weeds always do much better than the grass does at this time of the year.
Especially we saw that during the drought this year, is our lawns kind of looked not so good. They were drying up, but sure enough, the weeds were green.
Yeah, the weeds were nice and green and thick and lush, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, right now is a great time for herbicide application. Also, it's a good time to be fertilizing your lawn. The lawns are hungry right now, and right now is when they're developing a lot of their root system. So they'll benefit from that the fertilizer application now as well. You want to do it after the lawn has stopped growing, which it's going to get to that point pretty quick here because we had some warm days last week, but now we're getting to the colder days. And you also want to do it after you've stopped mowing. So we'll talk a little bit about your last mow as we go through this segment, but you'll do it after you've stopped mowing, and the roots are going to keep growing as the ground freezes. So the fertilizer will promote that more of that root growth, and it'll make your lawn lush and full and green as you come into spring next year. So a soil test is recommended if you want to know exactly what your lawn needs and which fertilizer you want to use. And in most cases, a winterizer fertilizer, that's fun to say, a winterizer fertilizer is recommended. So that'll give you your nitrogen and phosphate and your potash that you need to help your lawn grow next spring. To prevent those dark green stripes in your yard, apply half the fertilizer going back and forth in one direction and the other half going perpendicular to that. So kind of making a T all across your lawn. So applying half going north and south and the other half east and west, so you don't get those green stripes on your lawn.
So you don't have any missed spots, in other words.
Yeah, that's right. And the most effective time to kill weeds is not the best time to fertilize the grass. So you don't want to do it at the same time, such as with those weed and feed fertilizers. You want to do it at separate times. And you want to water your lawn after you fertilize it so that fertilizer sets in and it'll increase the effectiveness and reduce the likelihood of the fertilizer running off if we have a heavy rainstorm. It'll soak into the ground sooner. So you want to do that. Like I said, the fall herbicide application and the fertilizer you want to do this fall.
So would I spray the weeds first? Could I do that soon?
Yes, it's good to spray the weeds soon. And then after that, maybe like a week or so, do the fertilizing, and that'll set in for the winter and give it a good cover on that for winter.
How about if I have some spots that are, are problem spots already, and I want to start some new grass in those places?
Sure, you can seed. It's best to seed right before winter or right before the first snow sets in so that the seed is setting on the ground, and as soon as that snow melts, that seed will start germinating and come up. So you don't want to plant it quite yet when it still might want to start germinating and grow, but right before that first snow sets in, like we can predict it or something. Yeah. You'd like to
tune in and we'll tell you.
Yeah. You'd like to get it down then, and that'll make for a good start in the spring. So I mentioned a little bit about fall mowing, and we want to do that kind of when the lawn has stopped growing now, and cut it at the same length as you've been mowing all year. But if you've cut it a little bit longer this summer because of the drought and wanting to retain some of that moisture, maybe you want to cut it a little bit shorter. The thing is, if we have it too short and we have an open winter, it creates a greater chance for winter injury, where the cold weather is going to burn some of that grass. And if we have it too long, then we can have a chance for, if the snow doesn't melt as quickly in the spring, we can have snow mold as a problem. So I recommend about 2.5 to 3 inches cut it at. Also, if you have it too long, you can have some problems with those nasty voles that we get.
Yeah.
And we don't want that either. So in addition to that, you'll see the leaves are all turning colors and they're falling. And we have a tendency, most of us, to rake up those leaves and put them in bags and take them out to the local
collection spots.
Yeah, the compost. But we can actually compost them ourselves in our yard, and they'll benefit us. Adding to the organic matter in our yards. You can just simply mow over them as you make your last mow. And if you have spots where there's a lot of leaves, you might want to take some of those off because they will add to that problem of like snow mold and the voles if we have too many of those leaves there.
Yeah, you're leaving them too many nest building supplies.
That's right. Yes. Or you can also add your leaves to a compost bin if you have one, or put them over your garden or your flower beds, and they'll give them some protection over the winter.
I know sometimes even if you have some flowers that you want to protect, even bagging up those leaves and putting the entire bag over the top of flowers that you want to protect for the winter can be helpful, a way to insulate them.
Absolutely, yes. Especially recommended for like rose bushes. And another way you can do that is put like chicken wire around your rose bush and just fill it with the leaves that you collect over your yard. And then as the spring comes, you can take away that chicken wire, take out those leaves, and just spread them across your dirt there where you're planting your garden or your flowers. And if you do leave them on your garden or your flowers, you won't see much of it next spring because the earthworms will come up and they'll take some of that organic matter and they'll put it back into the ground, and that's how we get a lot of our nutrients. So it's a good idea to not waste your fall leaves. But before you do that, make sure you put them in a nice pile for everyone to jump in, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Have some fun with this.
Yeah,
with the
that's
fall.
always fun.
Yeah, and the colors are so beautiful out there right now.
All right. So also, we're having some backgrounding and feeding seminars going on. And there's a couple local meetings that will be taking place on Tuesday, October 10th, Wednesday, October 11th, and Thursday, October 12th. And specialists will be talking about feeding and growing calf rations and backgrounding calf budgets and also cow herd feed management. So we have some livestock specialists going to various places here in North Dakota to talk with producers about that. And this is free of charge to everyone. The closest one here to Mandan and Bismarck is Center, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, October 10th. Also on Tuesday, October 10th, they have one in Medora, if you're over in that area, at 2 o'clock p.m. and Bowman at 7 p.m. And on Wednesday, they have one in Linton, kind of my old stomping ground there. They have that one at 10 a.m., Ashley at 2 p.m., and Napoleon at 7 p.m. And on Thursday, October 12th, they have one in Binford, North Dakota at 9 a.m., Rugby at 2, and Minot at 7. So you've got 9 opportunities to check one of those backgrounding and feeding seminars out.
Okay. Do I need to register if I'm interested in going to one of them?
You don't have to register, no. And like I said, it's free of charge to everyone. And backgrounding is an alternative to selling calves at weaning. So this is a place where you can learn more about that and hopefully grow your operation in that way.
Build herds again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, Marissa, are you planning to attend one of them?
I am planning to attend the center event at 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
Okay. So if folks are interested in meeting you, they could sure pop into the backgrounding clinic at Center.
Yeah, come and say hi. Come visit with me. I love to meet all of my producers around this area. I haven't got out too much yet. So, yeah, come on, say hi. Don't be shy, and
and come in the office and say hello. I know we were just talking yesterday that I think we'll plan kind of a meet and greet and come in and into the office and have a cup of coffee and meet Marissa maybe after harvest is done and producers have a little more time on their hands.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for that. We'll sure let you guys know when that will be happening. And so with that, I think we are going to take a break here with the Extension Connection, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Right now, 44.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Extension Connection. Oh, it's still morning. Sorry, not afternoon quite yet. This is Vanessa Hoynes with the Morton County Extension Office, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a program that I have coming up. It's called Stepping On, and it is a falls prevention program. And so when you think about falls prevention, you might think, well, why is that important? Everybody takes a spill now and then. And so what's the big deal? So have you taken a spill lately?
Not lately.
Well, good.
I'm afraid that when winter sets in, though, and ice sets in, I will take a couple.
Yeah, and and I think everybody has fallen. Everybody has fallen. But the audience that we're looking at are folks that are 60 and over. And the reason that we really focus on that audience is that 1 in 4 people age 65 or older has a fall each year. And then when we take that statistic, 40% of the people who enter a nursing home had a fall in the last 30 days.
Oh, wow.
In the last month. And then the other thing is that of that, that 1 in 4 who have a fall, 35% of them become less active because of that fall. Mm-hmm. Either they, if they're independent in their own home, they don't continue to go out as much because of the fear of falling again. And, it's one of those downward spirals that when you go out less, do less, become less active, then of course our muscles, our balance, all those things kind of continue to diminish. And so it's that just diminishing returns in our skills. And so it becomes just one more, we're one more step closer to being not independent anymore and having to move into some type of a facility to help us move through the rest of our years. And so the Stepping On program really helps you to avoid dangerous and costly falls so you can keep doing the things that you love to do. And this is a program that spans over 7 weeks. And some of the things that you're going to learn in this program is to first identify and remove or avoid fall hazards both inside and outside your home. And so we have you do really a critical checklist of what are some things, kind of looking with a fresh eye at your home and the things that are around you that could cause you to fall. We also focus on your vision, hearing, medication, the footwear that you choose. Any of those things could be a risk for falling. And so to help us do that, we invite an optometrist to come in and talk about your vision and some of the diseases that come along with our vision as we're aging, and how we can prevent that or at least be aware of it so that we can deal with it as it comes up. We have a pharmacist come join us to talk about medication, because I think we all recognize that some medications can cause us to be dizzy, can cause us to be drowsy. And of course, those kinds of things will increase our chances of falling. And so the pharmacist can help us learn about better ways to organize how we take medications and when we take them. For example, not taking something that makes you drowsy before you're going to go out on a long drive or out on a walk. Strength and balance is something else we also work on. Most of the 7 weeks, we're actually talking about that, and we have some fun, easy to do exercises that can help build our strength and our balance. And we have a physical therapist that comes in and helps us with that, so that we can help you learn what exercises are best for you and how to modify them for the best impact for you. And then we also talk about the unfortunate time when you might fall. We practice and learn about how to get up from a fall without hurting yourself even further, because of course that can be really important also. So if you are interested in this class, you can call our office at 667-3340, and the class is going to meet every Tuesday beginning November 7th from 1:30 to 3:30. And the class is completely free. And the reason it is free is because it is being supported by the Older Americans Act. And so anybody who is 60 years of age or older and is currently, has had a fall in the past year, or is fear of falling, or if you live at home, or if you are currently able to motivate and move about without a lot of extra helps, we would love to have you in our class. It's not really for somebody who is currently in a wheelchair or who uses a wheelchair most of the time, but it would be for somebody who is a little more independent than that. And so we would love to have you. Give us a call. Again, that number is 667-3340. Don't hesitate, because we only have so many spots.
And your classes fill up quickly, don't they?
They do. We actually have a class that's starting this week, and that one filled up very quickly, and I think we're about half full with this class that's starting in November. So don't put it off, and give us a call right away. So good deal. The other thing I wanted to talk about with fall, Marissa was talking about getting our lawn ready for fall and into the winter. The other thing that we probably want to do is to begin looking at harvesting those fall vegetables. If you were lucky enough to have a garden, bringing those, harvesting that great bountiful, plentiful amounts of vegetables that you've been growing all summer. This is a great time to not only harvest them, but then also to take advantage and to be preparing them for your family and friends. And so whether you're choosing to harvest them or whether you are getting them at a farmer's market or a local grocery store, some things to keep in mind when you're selecting vegetables that you might want to look at would be, first of all, if you are buying them, making sure that you're buying them in season. Usually in-season vegetables are going to be the best quality and are also going to give you the best buy. Meaning that when they're in season, we have more to choose from, and they're also less expensive, which makes it a great buy. Excuse me. Also consider the storage you have available and how much you can use, because vegetables are a perishable food. Even though we sometimes can keep some of them longer, we want to make sure that we don't purchase any more than we can use in a reasonable amount of time, unless we're planning to preserve them in another way. Make sure to handle produce gently, because the bruised parts would be more likely to spoil. And so when we're looking at purchasing something, make sure that you're looking for those that aren't bruised. If you're buying frozen vegetables, for example, you want to make sure that they're solid and that they've been kept frozen the whole time. If there's a lot of frost buildup in the bag as you're buying them, that would not be the best one to pick. And if you're looking at buying canned vegetables, you want to make sure that they have no dents or bulging or those kinds of things, that the can is intact. And so then also,
I have a little bit to add on that, Vanessa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you still have some of your produce in your garden and it's still growing, it's going to dwindle off a little bit. But if you want to keep it growing, you see that the tomatoes are just getting red now. You can cover it with a blanket, because according to the local news, we might have a killing frost.
Yes.
So if you can cover it with a blanket, you can still get some produce from that.
Mm-hmm. And especially tomatoes, because they're very susceptible to frost. Mm-hmm. And if you feel like, I know sometimes with gardens too, it gets to the point where you're kind of like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. You can, with tomatoes, you could also pick them and then bring them inside and let them ripen indoors, right, or in your garage, or some other cool place too would be a good thing to do. But good point that with the frost kind of looming, we want to make sure we take care of all the things we have been keeping and working on to grow all summer. With storing vegetables, you want to make sure that you store them in a cold, humid place. And so if you have like a crisper compartment in your refrigerator, that's a good place to store them. Or in a plastic bag would be another good place. You don't want to refrigerate, however, things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, or the hard shell winter squash type vegetables. And that is because the cold temperatures will convert the starch in those vegetables into sugar. And so unless you like a sweet red potato.
That's interesting.
And I know some people do, but I don't like that. When a potato tastes sweet, that's not my favorite potato. And so you want to make sure that you store them in a cool place, just not as something as cold as your refrigerator. So about 50 degrees Fahrenheit is really the best for potatoes. And you want to keep them in a dry, dark place. Sometimes even putting them in like a paper bag and putting them in a place that would be probably away from the kitchen. A lot of times we store them in the kitchen because that's where we're going to use them. But unfortunately, we have a stove, we have a dishwasher, we have other things in there that heat up that part of our house even more than other parts. And so if you have a cellar of some kind, that's awesome. However, lots of houses now don't have cellars.
No.
And so right now your garage might be a good place to keep them because it's still not cold enough that it's going to freeze in the garage, but it will be a cooler place to keep those kinds of vegetables.
So Vanessa, you talked about the crisper drawer in the fridge. Mm-hmm. So we want to set that to have high humidity in it if we're storing vegetables?
Yes, you want to have some humidity in there to keep them from shriveling.
Okay.
Yeah, because vegetables vegetables and fruits both are very high in water content. And so if they're in a place, our refrigeration systems and our freezer systems are all set up so that they don't build up moisture. They don't build up moisture, and so many times the cavities are created so that the moisture is being pulled out, and so because of that, that's why those compartments are specifically for the vegetables.
Okay.
Fruits. Yeah. It's a good thing to keep in mind. You can also put them into a bag, and sometimes you want to have some slits in the bag. That can also help to keep some of that in, but also to keep it from spoiling within that bag also. Look to our website for some great recipes for your great vegetables that you have that you're harvesting right now. And hopefully you'll have a wonderful fall day. And with that, we will close with the Extension Connection.
You've been listening to Extension Connection on Super Talk 1270. News and information from NDSU Extension Service and representatives of Morton and Burleigh County Extension offices. Tell your friends to listen in for the next Extension Connection, exclusively here on Super Talk 1270.